Hi everyone. In this lesson we'll be exploring two new topics, which is event binding and using an if statement in our components template. First of all, I would like to show you that I have created a GitHub page, Developer Valley, and here is the Angular 18 tutorial. If you go to this page, you can find the project and the different lessons that have been uploaded on the YouTube channel. So if you click on the commits, you will see all the parts here and they will be added continuously. So you can check what changes have been made inside that lesson. So for example, the last lesson we have added our home component, and you can see we have added to the HTML, for example, these two lines. This way you can check your code and compare it with the code in the lesson. We'll also be adding styles at the end of the lesson, so it doesn't look as ugly as this current page. So first off, we will want to create a new component that is going to represent a blog post card, basically. So how do we create a new component? We will need a new terminal, and we have also already used this command, which is ng-generate component, because we want to generate a new component, and we want to specify the components folder, and this component is going to be called block card. Okay, so we will let Angular generate the component. Now this folder has been updated, so if we look into components, we have a new component, block card. First thing we want to do is check if it works. So if I go to home component, and I can add it using app block card and tab to autocomplete this. Now this is going to say that this element is not known, but we can hit quick fix and import it. So this imports this component into our home component. Inside the imports is added. Okay, so in the HTML we now have the block card component, and now we can see that block card works because this is by default in the template of the block card component. What we actually want to do now is use the block card component to show all the data from our post data model. So we will take the home component HTML, take the title and description, and we want to put it inside our block card component HTML. Okay. We also need to move the post, so we'll take this from the TypeScript, basically all of this code, and this we will leave empty. So we go to block card TypeScript, paste it here, and we also need to import this post class. Okay, now it should look the same. Yep, it looks the same, but we can see that it is actually now home component, and inside we have the block card component. We also want to add some new attributes to our post. These attributes are gonna be author, then timestamp, or now let's call it date, and last is going to be the thumbnail. Okay, we also need to add these three to the constructor. Okay, so we have added all of our new attributes, like the ones that were added before, to the constructor. Because we are actually using this constructor in our code, we need to update that code, which is here, where we are creating a new post. So now this constructor takes our new parameters. If we hover, we can see that it's author, date, and thumbnail that are missing in this order. So as author, I will write developer value. Now date, I'll just put today's date. And the thumbnail, I will leave it blank for now. So just an empty string. Okay. Now, let's go to our block card components template. Now let's quickly add all of these into our block card component template and see if it works. Okay, so here we see developer value is the author, this is the date, the thumbnail is actually hidden because it's an empty string, but it will be actually used as a, not as a paragraph, but it will be used as an source address for an image. At this point, we'll go ahead and add some styles to our application. I will skip through some of the parts, but you can always go to the GitHub link in the description and find all of the CSS and the HTML files that you will need. Okay guys, and we are back. So here we have the block card component. As you can see, the HTML is updated. What you don't want to forget is to update this index.html, because I've added some fonts and the main styles CSS. And by the way, the way that this styles CSS works is that this is the global styles for your application. So anything that you add to the style CSS, this takes place throughout the whole application. On the other hand, the CSS for our home component, for example, this only applies to the home component and HTML. So we have also added some CSS to our home component. And if you look at the template, we have a new header, which contains some text and also the link to the GitHub. And then we have main, where we have our block card. Okay, looks like this. This is the header and this is the main content. Now, if you look at the block card component, there's a lot of CSS to make it look like a card, and then there's the HTML. So basically we have the date at first from our post class, then we have the title, description, and the author. What I want to do now is add an icon before this author, before the author's name. So I will have to add an image. And what do I put inside the source here? I can add some file path, right? But where does this source look for our file? The answer is that the default path is this public folder. This in previous versions used to be called assets, but now it is this public. So anything that we put inside our public folder, we can search for it in when defining a source for an image, for example. So there's already a favicon of the Angular logo, so we can use that one. So if we write favicon.ico, this will then be used. And for the out, I'll just go with author. Okay. Now if we look at this, now here we have the favicon with the image. Okay. In the next step, let us add the post thumbnail. So what we'll need to do is add another image, and we don't have any image yet, but if you go to the GitHub page, you can look inside this public folder and you will see some images. So here we have the public and image folder, and inside you can download some image. So I will take this ChatGPT image, okay, and save it. So now I can take this picture and drag it inside this public folder. What we actually want to do is create another folder inside here and call it image, and put this image inside here. So now the path will be image / ChatGPT Pro JPEG. Okay, and the alt we will put here thumbnail. Okay, we can now see that our blog post card also has a thumbnail. But we don't want to specify it like this, hard-coded. We want to use this path in our post class. So let's move this to where we create our class. So this is actually our path. And now the post has this path. And at this point, we want to use something called property binding. So we already know that we can access the properties of our post this way. But what if we want to put it inside the source here? If we just type post.thumbnail, this will not work. We actually need to make this property to use property binding. So we need to wrap it inside these brackets. And now you can see that this is not only just a string, but this will actually access the thumbnail property. So now we too have this thumbnail here. Now, what if this thumbnail is not set, or is somehow the path is wrong? Okay, I will make this path to be invalid. Now if we go here, now the application is unable to find that image on that path. To prevent this from happening, we can use the if statement inside our template. So we make sure that the image only displays when there is an actual path defined. So if we go to our template, we can use on our image the ngIf directive, which looks like this. And here we would say that the post.thumbnail cannot be undefined. Okay. So if the thumbnail doesn't equal undefined, then we want to show this image. We actually get an error here because the ngIf directive needs to be imported. But lucky for us, there is a new way since Angular 17 where we can, instead of using this ngIf directive, use a new syntax. And this is what it looks like. So we will write @if and brackets and copy our condition statement inside our if. So we don't need this, but we need to put our image tag inside this if statement. Now only if this condition is true will this code be added to the template. We could also check if the thumbnail is an empty string. So let's just quickly add that. So we don't want the thumbnail to be undefined or an empty string. Now in our case, since the thumbnail is an empty string, the if statement will make sure that this is not displayed. And it doesn't work. Okay guys, we need to make this or into an and now the condition works. So you can see that there is no image here now. And if we make our path correct, so this will be the image ChatGPT-4o JPEG. Inside of this first space between div, we will add this span with class likes, which will say how many likes we have. We don't actually have the likes variable right now, so we will add it just like this, likes, and initialize it at 0. So the post will have 0 likes. We don't have to define what type this variable is. If we initialize it with a number, then the TypeScript will know that it will be of type number. You can see here. Now we have the likes here, and we also want to add a button, which if we click, it will be adding likes to our likes variable. So make sure to put it inside the second div class space between. Right here, we will make it a span. We'll add a class like button. By the way, these classes are already in my CSS. So make sure that you have copied all of the CSS inside the block card component. And let's add a like text inside our span. Now let's see what this looks like. So we have a like button here, and we have the count of likes. Now let's create a method that will get called when we click on the like button. So let's call it like. And inside this method, we want to add one to our likes. So just add these likes and plus plus, which will add one to our likes count. And now we need to call this method from our template. So when we click on our like button, we want to call that function. And this is done using eventBinding. What we can do in our template is access these events and react to them. If I add these curly brackets, we can see all of the events that this span has to offer. What we want to do is use the click event. So this is the click event, and when the click event is called, we want to call our like function like this. Okay. So now if we go to our application and hit this like button, this will add likes to our likes count, like so.